So I've been playing an unhealthy amount of Ninja Gaiden 2 Black since it released, and I keep asking myself the same question over and over again. Is this the best way or the definitive way to experience Ninja Gaiden 2? Let's talk about it. I feel in order to fully answer this question, we need to go back to look at the original Ninja Gaiden 2 back when it released on the Xbox 360 and Sigma 2, both on PS3 as well as the Master Collection versions. The original Ninja Gaiden 2 released on June 3rd of 2008 on the Xbox 360. It was developed by Team Ninja and published by Microsoft. The original is mostly considered to be most people's favorite Ninja Gaiden game to date. It's me, I'm most people. A year later, on September 29th, 2009, the sequel to Ninja Gaiden Sigma was released, which is essentially just a port of the original Ninja Gaiden 2 with some pretty significant changes, and also released on the PS3 only. Some of those changes include less enemies at once. Instead, they have more HP, making fights a bit of a drag. To add on to this, the mobs you do fight are smaller in comparison, and they're much more tankier. It's very noticeable. Like, if you play the game, it's very noticeable. Essence is pretty much only used for buying top-up items for health and ninpo. The weapon upgrade is more of a progression thing now. So you don't use Essence to upgrade items anymore. It's more so when you get to a certain spot and you find a blue Muramasa shop, that is the only time you can upgrade a weapon, and it's only one weapon that you can do that with. Another change is most of the fights from the original were removed, so there's a lot less fights throughout the game. That goes back to my first point, where the mobs are a lot smaller and tankier in comparison to the original. And to add to that too, it was because that they were tankier and had a lot of HP, it essentially made it a little bit more difficult to cut limbs off compared to the original, because it feels like in the original you could just cut them once and there's armor already gone, like in the beginning of a combo. Like I said, it's very, very noticeable. Now, one of the biggest changes, there was no blood in Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2. Only on the PS3 and Master Collection versions, there is no blood. The blood you would see when fighting is replaced with this purple mist when chopping limbs off. Apparently the reason for the purple mist being added instead of keeping the blood was due to a couple of reasons. The first being that it apparently was a boost in frame rate on the PS3, which to me is okay. It's fair, to be honest. Sigma 2 did have some issues where there was a lot of frame issues back in the day. I do remember that. I did play it day one, and I do remember those frame rate issues. It was like a little weird. The second being that apparently it was to reach a wider audience. Apparently the Japanese players of Sigma 2 really liked the mist idea, while us Americans like, the blood and gore of Ninja Gaiden. Apparently those are the two reasons why the mist was added, and if I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments. I did do some research before doing this video, but I want to make sure I'm 100% correct. So please correct me if I'm wrong on any part of this video. I welcome it, please. I can go on and on about the changes between the original and Sigma versions of Ninja Gaiden 2, but I'd rather not do that because this video would probably be an hour long. To finish off the Sigma version of Ninja Gaiden 2, it was a decent port at the time. It was nice to be able to play Ninja Gaiden 2 on PS3, and it was cool that it was done to reach a wider audience who maybe didn't have a 360 at the time to be able to play the original. The port itself could have been a lot better in my opinion, as there were apparent soft locks, frame rate issues, and other miscellaneous things that happened during the gameplay that I'm sure was very frustrating to a lot of players. It's not a bad game by any means. I'm one that personally believes that there is no bad Ninja Gaiden game. Let's ignore the fact that the original Ninja Gaiden 3 exists for a moment. Just for the love of God, please shield yourself. Don't look at the original Ninja Gaiden 3, please. Just do me that favor. Don't do it to yourself, for the love of God. Now let's move on to the Master Collection version of Sigma 2, which was released on June 10th, 2021. The Master Collection included Sigma 1, Sigma 2, as well as Razor's Edge. Now, the Master Collection version of Sigma 2 isn't really that much different from the PS3 version. The Vita version of Sigma 2 actually had gore. It wasn't the purple mist that the PS3 and Master Collections have, unfortunately, but yeah, the Vita version had gore. The Master Collection version pretty much has all the concept the Vita version has, plus some balance adjustment for tag missions. Other than that, it's pretty much the exact same game, minus some changes here and there between the Master Collection version and the PS3 version. Let's compare the differences between the original Ninja Gaiden 2 and the newly released Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. Ninja Gaiden 2 Black is a full one-to-one remake of the original Ninja Gaiden 2 in Unreal Engine 5, developed by Team Ninja and published by Koei Tecmo. Other than the insane difference in quality between Unreal Engine 5 and the original Ninja Gaiden 2, there are some differences here and there, and we'll go over some of them. Now, first things first, let's just get this out of the way, because I know this is what everyone is thinking, and obviously it's confirmed. I mean, if you played the game and all of the Ninja Gaiden games, then you would obviously see it for yourself, but let's just get this one out of the way first. Ninja Gaiden 2 Black is essentially built on top of Sigma 2, and you can notice that while playing the game. It's not a bad thing by any means. Like I said, Sigma 2 is a very good game in its own right, but It's not like a remake of the original. It's just built on top of Sigma 2. It's not a big deal, but like I said, it's just something to throw out there. Let's go over some of the other differences, the actual noticeable differences. The bow, for example, is mapped to its own controls, just like Sigma 2, and uses unlimited ammo. It doesn't need to be charged to do some damage. Now, personally, I'm not a fan of that, but that's besides the point. Basically, if you don't know what this means, or if you, I mean, I'm sure a lot of you seen what it likes, but I'm going to explain it anyway. Basically, the bow is mapped to its own controls. Back in the original Ninja Gaiden 2, you can pick what ranged weapon you want. You can use shurikens, you can use incendiary shurikens, which are no longer present in Ninja Gaiden 2 Black or either versions of Sigma, and you can essentially pick whatever ranged weapon you want. That's not the same case in Ninja Gaiden 2 Black and all the versions of Sigma. The bow is just its own thing that's equipped at all times. That ranged option, that bow or the cannon, is its own thing. And it's not like you can pick and choose what ranged weapon you want besides the shuriken and other stuff that really isn't available. Some boss fights are removed and some are moved around or replaced with something different. For example, now this is my personal favorite one. Ninja Gaiden 2 Black does not have either of the statue fights that were present in Sigma 2. Those two statues being the Buddha statue from chapter 1 and the Statue of Liberty chapter in, I believe, chapter 4. I'm pretty sure it's chapter 4. Thank the Lord above. I apologize. That was a little loud. I genuinely hated those fights. And on Master Ninja, they made me want to pull my fucking throat out. Here's another big one that I really want to talk about. In the original Ninja Gaiden 2, there were these optional fights, if you found them, called Tests of Valor, which allowed you to fight a bunch of enemies for a chest at the end, that being either health items, Life of the Gods, Life of the Thousand Gods for an increased health. It was just a reward at the ending of the test. Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, unfortunately, does not have those Tests of Valor. They did not bring that back, unfortunately, and it fucking sucks. It sucks. But to add to this, here's where I have a little bit of faith. To add to this, Team Ninja announced that they are coming out with a patch aimed at balance adjustments and to add some features. Here's where my hopefulness comes in. Who knows? Maybe that's one of the features being added. I'd like to hope so, as it would add so much more replayability to the game, God willing. Not that there's a lot of replayability, in my opinion, in all Ninja Gaiden games. There's always something for you to do in the next playthrough, whether it be using a different costume or going back through chapter select mode, which is essentially New Game Plus, and use a different weapon or challenge yourself like, hey, I'm gonna go through the entire game with the dragon sword, or I'm gonna go through the entire game with the flails. Like, there's always something you can do on different playthroughs, which in my opinion is really fucking cool, and not a lot of games have that option. So Team Ninja just updated Ninja Gaiden 2 Black with a lot of other features, and we're gonna go through it. The patch literally just released an hour ago. It is currently 1 in the morning as I'm sitting here editing this, and they dropped the patch on us, and it came out of nowhere, literally. So I have the patch notes on screen, and we're gonna go through them. Additional content, New Game Plus. They added New Game Plus, Lord have mercy. Interestingly enough, Ninja Gaiden 2. So the Ninja Gaiden games that do have New Game Plus are Razor's Edge, the original Ninja Gaiden 2, and interestingly enough, the original Ninja Gaiden from 2004, not Ninja Gaiden Black, the one before it, the original Ninja Gaiden, that also had New Game Plus, interestingly enough, and they removed it when Black came out. Added the ability to begin a new game on a difficulty level that you have previously cleared with the new weapons, or with the weapons and ninpo you obtained in your previous playthrough already unlocked. When starting a new game this way, your weapons and ninpo will be reverted to level 1. I really like that they're adding a New Game Plus to this as opposed to doing Chapter Challenge, because like Chapter Challenge honestly is not the same as like New Game Plus in my opinion. The next thing that they added is photo mode. Finally, photo mode is self-explanatory. It's pretty cool. It'd be a great way to do thumbnails and stuff. Here's a good one. Ability to hide your projectile weapon. So you remember how I was just bitching about the bow being its own thing? Yeah, I didn't mention that I just hate seeing a big ass bow or a cannon on my back. They added the option in the game settings to whether or not you can see it, that's God tier, actually. Now I don't get to see a big ass bow on my back. Now here are some of the adjustments made. They lowered the HP of the enemies in chapter 8, City of the Goddess, as well as chapter 11, Night in the City of Water. They raised the number of enemies in chapter 13, the Temple of Sacrifice, and they raised the number of enemies as well in chapter 14, A Tempered Gravestone, as well as rising the damage dealt by some of Ayane's attacks. I noticed that too. I feel like Ayane was just weak as shit compared to like Sigma. Was I the only one that noticed that? Like, I feel like she tickled. I don't know, that was just me. But it's really cool that first of all, they're lowering the HP of some of these enemies, 1, and 2, they're raising the number of enemies in chapter 13 and 14. If I'm not mistaken, I think chapter 14 is where you get the true dragon sword, right? So you're going through Hayabusa village and it's like, it's so dead. Like there's no enemies anywhere. Now I haven't messed with the patch yet. I'm still downloading it right now as we speak. I'm still editing this, but I'm not sure if it means that they're adding enemies in like a mob, or if they're adding more enemies as in like you're gonna go through the game and encounter more enemies. I hope that's the case and not the other where you're in a mob and it's just more enemies in that mob. I really hope that they add more enemies throughout the entire chapter and not just increasing the mob size. Now here's a couple of bug fixes. Fixed control issues that occurred when playing at over 120 FPS or while under computing load. Fixed an issue where controllers would not vibrate based on the computing load or FPS settings. Fixed bugs that caused the player to go out of bounds during certain chapters. Fixed bugs that made it impossible to progress during certain chapters. Fix the bug which caused the game to crash during long play sessions, and it has cut off in the screenshot, apologies. But yeah, other minor bug fixes. So yeah, they're fixing the game. Not like, well, let me not say fixing, because the game itself is perfectly fine. They're adjusting the game and they're bringing it more in line, which is really cool of them to do for a fucking single player game. Like, who updates a single player game about stuff like that? Like, who does that? I don't remember the last single player game that I played that updated like enemy health and all this other shit. Like, they really care about Ninja Gaiden, and it's crazy to see in the year 2025. Like, we love to see that out here. So yeah, I just had to add those patch notes in. Overall, Ninja Gaiden 2 Black is the definitive version of Ninja Gaiden 2. While some things may be different here and there, it is still so much better than Sigma 2 at least Sigma 2 in my opinion. Ninja Gaiden 2 Black looks better in comparison to any Ninja Gaiden game out there, and honestly, it's due to Unreal Engine 5. The Unreal Engine that game look like. It's so gorgeous, dude. I'm sure it looks a lot better if you're playing on PC and like on like a 4K display. Oh, good lord. It's a lot smoother in gameplay as well. Almost feeling like it's a fighting game inside of an action hack and slash game, which is, it's crazy to say something like that out loud, but if you play Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, it genuinely feels like a fighting game almost. Technically it is, but it's, you know what I mean. Another thing too that sucks is that unfortunately it still has that shitty Ninja Gaiden camera, but it's not too big of an issue unless you're like up against the walls a lot, or up against like rails and a lot of the, you know, yeah. Unless you're up against walls or like a bunch of other shit around. Now, to wrap up this video, let's go back to the original question. Is Ninja Gaiden 2 the best way to play? Oops, I fucked up. Hold on, take two. Is Ninja Gaiden 2 Black the best way to play Ninja Gaiden 2? I would say yes. It is the more quote unquote complete package of Ninja Gaiden 2, I would say, and it's a lot better in comparison to the other games. Now, the original Ninja Gaiden 2 on Xbox 360 is a lot harder, and it's a lot more chaotic than Sigma 2 or Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. By all means, if you want a challenge, please, I implore you to play the original. Hell, if you don't want to play the remake just yet, I would recommend just play the original. Don't even, I'm not even going to recommend Sigma. Play the original if you have a chance to, in my opinion. Play the original and then play the remake. I feel like that's the best way to kind of experience Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, is if you play the original, right? It's chaotic and violent, and it's just as violent as all the other games, but it's a lot more chaotic and it's a lot more harder. Play that one if you have the chance to, and then play the remake. But that's how I would personally do it. If someone asked me, hey, like, what's the best way to do this? Like, yeah, I would just do that. Play the original and then just play the remake. Let's say, for example, let's say you don't have a 360 or something, or an Xbox to experience the original. That's quite all right. You could just hop on the Master Collection on whatever console you're on. There's always ways to experience Ninja Gaiden 2, but me personally, I would just play the remake. I mean, I would just play the original, then play the remake. So yes, to answer the question, I feel yes, it is the best way to experience Ninja Gaiden 2 in its entirety. It's such a good game in comparison to the other ones. If you made it to the end of the video, thank you very much for watching. I'd like to do more of these types of videos where I type some words on the screen and explain how I feel about certain things. If you'd like to see more, let me know down in the comments. And if you enjoyed today's video, be sure to like and subscribe for more content just like this one. Be safe, and God bless you guys.